I want to show you the exact way that took me from inconsistent to consistent in trading in 30 days. And I also want to show you what we do with our clients in 60 days to consistency. And what we realized was really cool. It's not about trading psychology. It does have a lot to do with system building, and I just want to show you and break it all down for you. So you can either copy our stuff, or if you want, you can work with us and let us help you get to a place of consistency. This is how you can master short-term trading. I'm going to tell you why I really am super excited to share with you this video. This is how we work with clients. This is how I broke through in my trading in 30 days. You can do it in 7 days. You can do it in 30 days. You can do it in 6 days. You can do it in 10 years. You can do it in whatever time you want to do. That's your choice. But I'm going to show you how you can do it in a very short period of time and how we do it with our clients. So let's see if, so this guy we're going to go through now is going to show you how you can build a system that supports your personality and supports your consistency in as little as 30 days. You can even do it in 7 days, you decide. Super excited to do this, but it is for short-term traders. So you are a short-term trader. Probably if you're watching this video, if you're watching any of my videos, you're probably a short-term trader doing prop firms and you are already seeing consistency, but you want more reliable profits and you don't want these boom and bust cycles and you want a little bit more consistency, even though you're already skilled. You already try courses, mentorships, or watch videos and learn strategies, but there's something missing. And don't worry, it's not a lot. You're going to start understanding this very soon. So first of all, you need a complete system. A strategy is not a system. You need a system that supports the strategy. And you don't need more psychology tips, because the psychology doesn't work if you don't have a system. So first of all, let's just start by setting realistic expectations, because most traders, they have this 10K withdrawal goal or 20K, 50K per month, because now when we have the prop firms, it's easy to talk about that. So it's just really interesting how we talk about expectations, because most of us don't have costs more than $2,000-3,000 per month. And if you do have costs that's over $3,000 per month, maybe you should look at that car and ask yourself, do I really need that? What I like to do, what we want to take our traders to, is not really the 20 Apex accounts. Some people do. Our last client is trading with 20K account, but he's also withdrawn a lot of money, so he's very used to that amount of money. But what I'm saying is that all you need is 2 funded accounts to fund your everything. So you want to be risking $200 per trade. You want to have a 1.5 risk reward ratio, or for example 2R and a little bit less risk and a little bit less win rate. But essentially, if we get to this and let's say 55% win rate, but 50% is a really realistic way, you're already profitable here. With 2 accounts, you're at around 2,000, 2,200 per month. But with a 55 or even 60% win rate, you are now withdrawing, with 2 accounts, withdrawing more than whatever anywhere in Europe the average monthly income for a high-paying job working 8 hours a day. And now you're working 1 hour a day with one setup on one ticker. Like, this is how simple. It doesn't get easier than this. So what I wanna start with is, we always talk about sustainability. We always talk about base hits. I don't usually try to run the position. If I do, there's a lot of room underneath and I'm still taking TPs on the way. But that's the thing. Instead of trying to have these big TPs, what we like to do is separate our trades from A to B, so we can size up on those A trades, A plus trade. That's what we start with. But first of all, just think about your expectations of the trading. It doesn't have to be that high. And if you are in that column where you're looking really, really high, you're probably one of those Instagram traders. One of those that just want to trade to share that P&L on the Instagram screen. And it's not really about consistent, sustainable income. The first problem is a lack of system. And this is what we see with every trader. I'm not sure if you have a system. Maybe you have a strategy. Maybe you do have a system and you know your TPs, your stop losses and everything. And even if you do have a system, it's still important to think about this, because I thought that I had it all figured out, but then I realized that some of these things were actually still important. And what I'm going to tell you about next is also, it's how to support that system so you can trade better with that system. First of all, we have unclear take profit levels. Some people, you will have next hourly level, but the next hourly level is 150 points away. So now you're starting to try to run your TPs for 6-7 hours. Is that realistic? Probably not. So that's why I like to trade with set TPs with 1.5R, 2R, whatever that is, on different set of strategies, depending on the data that we collected for the strategy. Inconsistent stop loss placement. We don't really know where the stop loss should be. So that creates emotions. Every time, so where I'm trying to go with these issues is that these are emotionally driven issues. So every time you take profit, it's because your emotion said, okay, take the profit here. Your stop losses is your emotion chooses where you want to have that stop loss. So maybe you're greedy today, So now you're going to have a greedy stop loss, or you're scared. So now you're going to have a scared stop loss. So now you're going to have a super wide stop loss. But in reality, maybe you're sizing up too much. So all of these things are creating a lot of emotional decision making. If you don't have a super clear entry, you're also going to create emotions in your entry. And then you don't know your TPs. Now you're creating a lot of emotions. So this is super important. So just think about, even if you do have a system, just think about this. Do you have a super clear entry? Do you have a super clear setup, a super clear take profit and stop loss? If that's the case, then it's great. Because the real truth is, without a system, the emotions are ruling you. And that is the emotions of trading. That's where 80-90% of all the emotions come from, is from those emotions triggering emotional behavior. The system isn't just a strategy. It's also, like this text says here, it's a complete framework for every aspect of your trading. It's everything, every choice that you make is based on this strategy, on this system. So number one is to define your edge. And you can use the one-page trading plan in our description that you can download, that I send to everyone. Probably heard it before if you watch any of my other videos. So what we want to do is, first of all, we want to identify your strengths. If you already have a system, maybe you worked with Rake, ICT, or any of those others. So first of all, ask yourself, which setup do you actually enjoy now? Like, take a pen and paper. Which one is your favorite setup? Even if it shows up once a week, which one is your favorite setup? And that's what we want to do. We want to start with that setup and we want to create that into mastery. Like, where do I want to see that? How does it want to show up? And where does it show up? And then you want to start, of course, analyzing those results. But even more important is to understand, when does that trade happen most of the time, so you can start planning for that trade. And then what we do, we basically do more of what you are good at and less of what you're bad at. So for me, reversal setups was a really big problem for my trading. And as soon as I stopped doing that, I stopped taking a lot of overtrading stuff. I stopped doing a lot of overtrading because that was triggering the overtrading. So just having the trending setups, and now I have a more simple reversal, but just having those two, they never contradict each other. They never, when I have this bias, I only have this bias. When I have this reversal bias, I only have the reversal bias. So I always know there's never two biases. And that's what I see is a big problem for a lot of traders, is that maybe you have one reversal and one trending setup, and both of them can trigger around the same time. So now you don't really know which one you should decide on. So that's why I like to just delete some of them. Because if you can still get a signal, all right, that's the signal, or I just skip the trade. And where's the next setup? Okay, it's at this level or at this zone. So you always know what you can expect for your trading and where you can start planning. So start by the one-page trading plan, because then you will start conquering the emotional triggers, because then you can look at your entries, your stop loss, your TPs, how big your size is going to be on this trade, on that trade, what is an A setup, a B setup. So you clearly define all of these things. And then what I like to do is to either you can record yourself, or like the way we do it, we watch the trader trade live, and you can hear in the sound of what you say, what you're doing on the screen. So record yourself with, for example, OBS or Loom, and you can record and talk out loud, speak out loud, and say what you feel, say what you're thinking. And then you watch back all the bad trades, all the good trades, see what you were thinking, see what you were doing, see what you were saying before that trade showed up. And you can so easily recognize what causes the emotional trading reaction. So those are the triggers. And if you can find those triggers, now you can come up with solutions so those don't happen again. So that could be a new way of thinking. It could be removing a setup. It could be creating a bias. It could be anything that works for you. One thing that I did for my trading was I removed any reverse trading. So if I was long, I would never take that into short. Doesn't matter if there's a new setup. I would just take that stop loss and then wait for a new setup to form, instead of just going out and then seeing the reversal and then reversing the trade, because that would always tilt me if the second trade would be a loss. So start writing down your emotional triggers and then come up with solutions for that. So create rules to avoid these triggers. Emotions never show up if you don't have a trigger triggering them. So example would be, if you're driving in traffic and nothing happens, everything is perfect, there's a green light everywhere you go, everyone is driving perfectly, you would never be mad. But if there's an emotional trigger, which is someone driving in front of you, driving slowly, or whatever that might be, or the red light on every time you stop, there's a red light, that's an emotional trigger. That triggers your emotions. But without those triggers, there won't be any emotions. Just like in your trading, you're overtrading everything, your FOMO, everything comes from a trigger. So you need to start and shining a light on those triggers so you can start understanding your emotional system. And that's also what we do with the traders, is we make them map out the whole system. Where do you get tilted? What trades can you take? What trades can you not take? How many trades can you take? How long can you trade? Maybe one of your emotional triggers is fatigue. So you need to set up a pause in between your trading, because after 30 minutes, your brain is not as fresh anymore. So that's just some of the stuff. And then number 3 is to master execution. So step number 3 is mastering execution. And soon we're going to come to our secret sauce about our 60 days of consistency. So first of all, you set clear objective rules with the one pager, your exit, and your TPs. So all of these things are super clear. And don't be scared, because intuition can come in later, but it's all part of your system. So you let yourself be intuitive with your system, and you decide when that is. But you can't just be intuitive just because you want to have freedom in your trading. Then you should probably start creating some freedom outside of your trading, someplace else. So these rules should be non-negotiable, and they eliminate second-guessing emotional decisions. That's basically why we have the one-page trading plan, because that creates a core of your trading. So here comes the secret sauce. So when you have your system, you have your process, you have your base of your trading, which is the best thing I have ever seen work is the one-page trading plan. What you want then is real-time oversight. You want someone to watch you, because think about you when you were a kid and you were playing football, and maybe you had a coach. And what happens with that coach when you're done with the game or the practice or whatever? He will tell you what you did well. He will tell you what you did wrong. And while you're playing the football, he's going to tell you to run up the field. Okay, so this is what we're missing in trading. This is what in real time prop firms have. We call it virtual risk management, but it's basically a risk manager. You need someone watching you, because that creates accountability. It shines a light on your strengths and all those other things. And this is what I've seen with traders who trade live. And I'm like, why are they trading so well here and worse when they're trading off stream? It's because it's the accountability, because they have someone to perform for. And this is our secret thing. So keep in mind, all of the things that you do are habits. All of the bad things that you do, you're overtrading, it's just a habit. It's a habit that you can break at any time, just like everything else. But what we do in the moment is we create the system, and then we start asking you questions while you trade. So we challenge you in the moment. So maybe you have a FOMO thing, and then we can start asking yourself if you have a trigger for emotional trading when you get FOMO, and maybe that FOMO comes from market running 100 points. And we can start asking you, okay, what's your emotional trigger that often happens when you get FOMO? And then you start injecting that logic. And then we ask, okay, so what are you waiting for now? And then you already know that I'm actually just waiting for a very deep pullback. And that's all I'm waiting for. So now you're not inclined to take that trade. And every time we practice this, in every scenario of your trading, same thing when you're waiting for a setup and you've been waiting for 30 minutes, we will tell you, all right, great job for waiting. What are you waiting for next? And instead of getting bored, now you can just focus on what you need to wait for. And this is how you can build the patience. So this is a really interesting tool that we use. We call it virtual risk management. It's the coolest thing you've ever seen. But how you can do it for yourself is to record your sessions and watch it afterwards. So at least you can train yourself. But the best thing, go on a YouTube stream, live stream yourself in front of people, or have someone watching you just like a coach, just like we do in 60 Days of Consistency. So it forces you to inject logic into the emotional patterns, and then you can change them. Even if you've been doing the same thing for 2, 3, 4 years, we can break those patterns. So that's what we call the secret sauce that accelerates the bad habits and building positive ones. And that's what I've been missing in all the mentorships I took, because it's so easy to just like, all right, you should do that next time. But then that next time happens and you're not ready to do that because you forgot it, or you're not thinking about it, or you're emotional. But if someone is there holding your plan in his hand and watching you about to do something that you're not supposed to do, we can inject the logic for you. So that's a really cool thing. After we've been through all those things, we have just sustainable scaling left. And that's full system trained so that it's unconscious, so you don't really have to think about it. And then you start expanding your playbook with A, B setups, A plus setups, and then you start sizing up. And that is just the proper base of consistency. Consistency comes from being able to do the same thing over and over and over again, and then we apply the size. And that's where profitable consistency comes from. That's it. Once you mastered it, scale slowly, sustainably, up to a monthly income. You're getting used and comfortable with increase of size. So the path forward, which is the absolute last thing. So take this principle, start building your one pager, and then start mapping out your emotional triggers. Start recording yourself and start mapping out those emotional triggers. Or you can let us help you. You can get a free 15-minute clarity call with us, and we can talk about your challenges, and maybe we can see if we can help you or not. If you want just a fast track to it, make sure to hit us up. And the result of doing this is consistency, because consistency is just doing the same thing over and over again. Profitability is just having an edge that works, that you can execute on consistently with the correct amount of size. So I hope that was a helpful video, and I've really been wanting to share this, and I'm probably going to share it 100 more times because it's so powerful. So take good care and have a good day.